Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide.
Hey, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
Do I have to repeat the disclaimer about if you mispronounce places?
No, I think I know this one.
Oh, good.
I think I know these. Yeah, so shout out to Madrid in Spain. See, I knew how to pronounce that one. Okay. Shout out to all those peeps there and to Ann Arbor, Michigan in the United States.
Also, good pronunciation.
That was good. Watch it be wrong.
How can Ann Arbor be wrong?
Hey, you never know.
I don't know. But if you're from those places, we thank you so much for listening and hope that you will spread the word.
Yes.
Because you are showing up in our statistics.
Mm-hmm.
So we really, really, really appreciate you and want you to know that. Those of you who have binged us, and I know that you're out there, you know that we were shouting out places in the past and we kind of went back to it because we missed it.
We missed it. It's fun. I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite things to do because it makes you realize like how many peeps are out there
around the world. I've had people say to me, something about the listeners of our podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I say to them, "Oh, it's listened to both nationally and internationally." So here you go. Here's our statistics, and we're listened to. Watch this segue. Ready?
No.
We're listened to by people from many different cultures.
Good one.
Thank you.
You're so good at that.
Thank you very much. People from many different cultures who might have many different ways to approach
Mm-hmm.
behavior. So we want to talk today about guiding children's behavior in a way that is respectful and does not come up against what children are taught in different cultures. Different cultures approach things differently. There are some cultures where more words are used, and there are some cultures where more nonverbal communication is used than the words. Right. There are some cultures where different tones of voice are used for different situations. There are some cultures in which children are requested to do things, and other cultures in which children are commanded to do things. And there are some cultures where eye contact is considered extremely disrespectful. I have seen many people demand eye contact from children. And I just want to remind everyone that that is very, very steeped in culture. Communication is, and so is eye contact. And when we say to children who come from cultures where eye contact is disrespectful, that they must look us in the eyes, then we are teaching them something that goes against their culture. Think about something, folks, that's very culturally steeped for you. This is how my culture does it, right? Mm-hmm. And then let's say your children go to school and they are taught to do the opposite, how that would feel.
Okay. Well, even I just gave a look. Sorry, everybody on YouTube. Because I'm like, wait, what? Because that's wrong. I don't know how else to say that. Like, you can't teach against other people's cultures.
You can't. We have to try to guide children's behavior in a way that is appropriate for the children. So there are some things that I think I have to let go. I come from a culture where eye contact is a thing, where if you're listening to me, you're looking me in the eyes. If
Right.
you are taking me serious, you're looking me in the eyes. And when we have conversations in my culture, and I think it's true of your culture, Alison,
this is true.
We actually seek out the eye contact so that we know how the person is feeling, but that's not true for all cultures. I was in an early childhood program where they wanted the children to pay attention. These were very young children who folks are not going to pay attention to you all day long, but they wanted the children to pay attention. When they wanted them to pay attention, they said to them, "You have to look in my eyes," and even asked them what color their eyes were. Like they said to them, "Look at my eyes. What color are they?" to get their attention, which is problematic, in my opinion, in a couple of ways, because not only did some of those children, I know that some of those children came from cultures where eye contact is not what they're taught.
Yeah.
They're taught it's disrespectful. but also they'll just start looking every stranger in the eye. In fact, one child looks at the eyes so carefully now that she came up and asked if she was right about the color of my eyes, which at first I didn't. So imagine this. A child walks up to me and says to me, "Are your eyes green?" My eyes are hazel and they sometimes look very green depending on what I'm wearing. So she said, "Are your eyes green?" And I thought, what an interesting
question. Yeah.
From a young child. She was looking really closely at my eyes. I was in there writing, and so I was looking down, and she had picked that up.
Right.
And then it was a little later on that I heard the adults saying, "Look at my eyes. What color are they?" before they would address the children, before they would talk to them about whatever they needed to talk to them about. So it wasn't even necessarily guiding behavior. Well, I guess it was, because they wanted them to pay attention. But there are other ways we can get children's attention that are more culturally respectful. Like when I worked with toddlers, and they were all over the place.
Yeah.
They are like, toddlers are everywhere.
Yeah.
So when we wanted their attention, we used to sing songs to draw them over.
Yes.
I would even sometimes sing song their names.
Yeah.
Right.
I've done that. You make up little songs about their names. Yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've what is it? Sing song? I've made up songs about their names, about what they like to do, made them laugh, got their attention. Yeah. So I would make them laugh. I would sing with them. I would do all sorts of things, but we have to be really careful about eye contact. So when adults are saying to children, "No, look at me, look me in the eye."
Right. But
don't assume that that's okay with them and their culture. We can't assume by what we assume about children's cultures, what they're taught to do and what the priorities are.
Right.
So assume nothing. I think that's
assume nothing would be good. I would say stay as neutral as you can.
Yeah.
Right. That's the goal, right? Stay as neutral as you can, because I understand like our cultures are playing in there too, but like where our culture is very like much about the eye contact, but not other cultures are. So just stay neutral. And just because a kid's looking in your eyes does not mean he is paying attention to you, nor is he not paying attention just because he's not looking at you either. So I don't understand all of that, but like, yeah, find a different way.
And it's not only culture, it's also children who have particular special needs just cannot look you in the eye.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I was recently, as an aside, not so much of an aside. I was recently interacting with an older adult, older than me, older. Mm-hmm. So an older adult who was unable to look anyone in the eye. I could tell when he was speaking, he doesn't look people in the eye. And I thought, oh, I wonder if there was something going on there that was undiagnosed, because this is an older person. Right. Yeah. And these diagnoses were not a thing when he was younger. Yeah. But he absolutely could not look people in the eye. And everyone just kept talking. It was not made a big deal of, right? People weren't kind of moving their heads to get in his eye space. This is who he is. He doesn't look people in the eye. And when it's adults, for some reason, I think we kind of accept that.
I was just going to say, because like you're sitting there, you were in a conversation with a group of people and not one person went like this, like, look at me, look at me, look at me, because he's an adult. So why are we doing that to children?
Because in some cultures, we consider it to be respectful to look us in the eye, but it's not true for everyone. It's not within everyone's ability. It's not true for every culture. Right. So we got to let go of the look me in the eye thing.
But I feel like people are more accepting of it when adults do it and not when children do it. And I don't understand that at all.
Again, it has to do with children need to be respectful, but I think we all need to be respectful.
Yeah.
Right. We also have to be aware that in some cultures, children are spoken to in a sterner tone of voice when there's been a behavioral issue than in others. So it's possible that a child who is spoken to in a very stern way at home, but then in my early childhood program, I'm not speaking that way, correct, that they're not really fully understanding, which doesn't mean I should speak in a more stern way. No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's true. I know, because I feel like I had that last year. I worked with a different culture they told me like the aides I had, they're like, oh, because you're not yelling at them, they're not listening to you. And I was like, well, I'm not going to yell at them. They're like, no, you don't understand. Like in our culture, for them to actually understand that we mean business, we yell at them. And I'm like, type of person.
So what did you do?
So
Sorry, my watch slammed the table.
It distracted
Sorry.
me. I still continued my way. And I told them, I was very straight out with them, like, I'm not going to yell at you. And I explained my way of being, like, I'm not going to yell at you. I understand at home that is what they do, and that is okay. That is what your mom and dad want to do. I am not going to do that here. And the kids were like, wait, we don't have to be. It was like a dawning, like, we don't have to be yelled at. I'm like, no, I'm not going to yell at you. And it took a while for them to be like, to get it, because they're coming from home where that's the way it is. And then they come to me. But after a while, they were like, oh, Miss Allison just doesn't do that. She just doesn't do it. And like, it's because they're 3 to 5 years old. They're so like more open, I think, to things, and they don't realize it could be anywhere, any other way, because that's what they're used to. That's what they were raised with.
They can learn different expectations for different places to a limit. I think there are certain things that they're simply taught are respectful and disrespectful, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think in the case of they're used to a more stern tone, or they're used to more yelling from their culture. In that case, when I think back, one of the things that I've done is, I've said to the children, like, I'll go up to them individually and say something like, I need you to listen to my words.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm sort of giving a command, which they may be very used to,
right,
but in a respectful and kind way.
Yeah.
So I remember there was one child where I was always going up and saying, okay, I need you to listen to my words right now. And I used to point to my mouth. That's where I want you to listen. Right. I need you to listen to my words right now.
Yeah.
I had a child once, now that I think of it, tell me or ask me why I wasn't yelling if I was mad at somebody in the room. So it wasn't about this child. Another child had done something, and I went over and said, okay, I need you both to listen to me, listen to my words. And we talked about what was happening. It was 2 children arguing. And another little girl came over to me and said, why didn't you yell at them if you're mad at them?
Yeah.
And I said, I just don't yell. That's just not me. Which is different, I think, than eye contact. Don't you think
I
it's
think
different?
It is a little different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is more about like they're learning that there are different ways to do things, that different people do things differently.
Yeah. Different people can do things differently to an extent. I'm not going to do it to the point where I'm taking a lesson. I'm going back to the eye contact because I can't think of another one.
Yeah.
But, where I'm actually forcing a child to do something. I think that's the difference.
That's the difference. Yeah.
So when I demand that they look me in the eyes, I'm forcing them to do something that's considered disrespectful in their culture. When I don't yell, that's my action, not the child's action.
And I'm not forcing my action on them.
Right. Haven't you had children where they come from a louder culture? Mm-hmm. I come from a loud culture. Yeah. They tend to be louder, and so be it. That's their background. Right. So I think the difference is me forcing children to do something versus me doing something.
Right. It'd be like, because we're from a louder culture, that we go in and we have to tell the children that they have to be loud.
Right. I'm not going to tell them you have to be loud because I come from loud.
When you say that, you realize how ridiculous that sounds, right? Like that you're like, oh, I'm loud, so therefore you have to be loud. And just because I'm from Jersey and I'm loud does not mean like everybody's loud, right?
Valid.
So, right? So then it's the same thing with the eye. Like, so why with eye contact are you forcing it?
I think this is the question.
Okay.
I can do something as long as it's respectful and kind.
Correct.
Right? I have to model the kindness and the respect that I want children to learn. So I can do something that's basically culturally neutral, I think.
Yeah.
Just different from their culture. But if I force the children to do something, that's a whole other issue.
You've crossed the line. Yeah.
I'm so glad you and I worked this out. I don't know how the preschool peeps feel about this, but I'm so glad we worked this out.
Yeah.
You also need to know there are some cultures that use nonverbal communication way more than others. So there are some children who come from cultures where if I gesture, they get it.
Yes.
Right. if I sort of shake my head and my finger at the same time, they'll know what that means.
Yeah.
There are children who come from other family contexts and cultures who have no idea what that means. So
Yeah.
I'm shaking my head and my finger, and they're just shaking their head and their finger back at me.
Yeah.
They have no idea what I'm
idea.
trying to do.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea to get to know what are the communication techniques of different families, different cultures, and even to sit families down and say, we're going to sometimes have to communicate with your child about behavior that's typical of this age. So please tell me how you communicate about that at home. Do you use a lot of words?
Right.
How does your family feel about eye contact? I would ask these.
them.
Yeah. Ask these
them.
specific questions. Assume nothing.
The parents are your greatest resource right there. You can learn so much just by asking.
Just ask the families, even as part of your questionnaire. How do you talk about behavior with your children? How do you or do you not teach your children to make eye contact with people? You know, what is your cultural priorities and values related to teaching children about behavior? And as long as no one's going to get hurt or abused or neglected, we're good.
We're good.
We accept whatever the families say. And then we can talk to them about what our regulations say, what the National Association for the Education of Young Children says about guiding behavior and that sort of thing. But please don't force children to do something that's totally out of the context of their family and their culture. I think we got it.
You got it.
Folks, this is us living out loud.
These are my favorite episodes when we figure things out while we're talking about it. Because sometimes we don't have the answers. We really don't. We're just trying to figure it out.
While we're living out loud.
Yeah,
That's us. Okay. So preschool peeps, be sure to listen to the past episodes if you have not, and tune in next time because I think it's going to be a really fun episode.
I'm looking forward to that one.
I'm looking forward to it too. Catch you next time, preschool peeps.
Bye, peeps.